Okay, Mairead, over to you.
Okay, thanks very much, Conor. Is everybody in now, or everybody that's waiting in? Yeah.
There's three. I forgot to unmute. There's three more. Yeah, everyone is in now. Yeah, so we've 38 people now. Fantastic. Welcome, everyone. Over to you, Mairead.
Thanks very much for coming along this evening to our South Dublin subgroup of the Dublin Cycling Campaign. And tonight, as you will have seen, I think from our publicity, we're going to be talking about Cycle South Dublin and the bus connect routes for South Dublin County as they go through South Dublin County. Can I just mention, Conor mentioned that we are in a webinar format. We're actually in just an ordinary Zoom meeting format. So everybody is in the room, if you get my drift. So I'd ask people to mute their microphones unless they're actually speaking. And if you want, to make a comment or ask a question, put it into the chat and we can invite you to speak. There's also, no, there isn't a way of putting a hand up. No, oh yes, there is. And if you go into participants, I think you can put your hand up. Yes, you can raise your hand in participants. So if you want to speak, raise your hand in participants and you can unmute yourself and we'll invite you to speak. So I say thanks very much. And to start get things rolling, I'm going to call on Muireann O'Dea, who's going to give an update on a few infrastructure pieces that are happening in the county at the moment.
Hi everyone. So I'm the Cycling Campaign rep on the Road Safety Working Together group. So that's a working group that is organised by South Dublin County Council, and it includes reps from the council, An Taisce, Road Safety Authority and the Cycling Campaign. So we've been on that working group for a year and a half, I think, around that. So we just had a meeting last week, so there's some good things happening. So I'll just give an update on those. So there's cycle parking being installed at various locations, and that includes cargo bike stands, bike maintenance stands, and some of the bike lockers. And I know we were asked a while back to give some suggestions for locations for the bike lockers, and I know that one of the locations is in Lucan near Liffey Valley, which is one of the areas we suggested, so that's good. The council have also got funding for close pass signs, so the safe overtaking signs. So that's something we've been looking for as well for a good while. So they looked for a grant and they've been awarded the grant. So hopefully we'll see those signs fairly soon. Then on the Light Up Your Bike, so that's a campaign that Cycling Campaign runs every year, and last year we did an event with the South Dublin County Council. We were hoping to do the same again this year, but because of COVID we couldn't do the event. But the lights have been distributed to some local schools anyway, so they won't go to waste. Some social distancing measures have been implemented, so there's the parklet in Lucan and Rathfarnham Village, and I think, I'm not sure, the temporary scheme in Wellington Lane I think comes in under that, and we were told that there would be some extra schemes because there have been some savings, so we look forward to hearing more about that. And then in terms of school streets, so they have a plan to install school streets in the vicinity of 4 schools. There you can see the names of them. So they have to go out to for the design and construction of those school streets. So first one will be completed by September 2021. I know we'd all like to see that happening a bit sooner, but at least it's good. It's a good initiative. So that was just a quick update from the road safety group, and I'm now going to hand over to Jennifer McGrath. She's a senior engineer in South Dublin County Council, and she's going to tell us about the Cycle South Dublin plans. So I'll stop sharing and hand over to you, Jennifer.
Thanks, Maureen.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen here. Hopefully it will work. Okay. How's that looking?
It hasn't come up yet.
Can you see it now?
No.
No.
Not just, no.
Oh,
No,
I know.
no.
I haven't pressed the share button. The
All
share
right, no,
button.
perfect. Yeah, the
Perfect.
Cycle Set Dublin, a proposed program of work. Thanks.
Yeah. So that is, so you just have to bear with me until I come to terms with Zoom. I have difficulties with applications on the computer. So tonight, I'm just going to talk about the latest strategy that we have in South Dublin, and it's called Cycle South Dublin, a proposed programme of work. So I'm Jennifer McGrath. I'm the Senior Executive Engineer in the Road Design and Construction section in Land Use Planning and Transportation Department. And I'm just going to talk you through the proposal. Now, here we go. So the vision for South Dublin then is to become one of Ireland's most cycle-friendly counties. And this we hope to achieve through this strategy. Our mission is that the council's mission is to provide people with a well-connected, well-designed and safe cycle network that offers people a credible alternative to the car. So how will we do this? So the objectives of our work is to provide a comprehensive and connected cycle network across South Dublin. We want to make cycling a more achievable mode of transport for all. That includes adults of all ages and children. And we want to improve the cycling identity of the county. The critical components then for ourselves are, now it's jumping ahead, is it? Yeah.
Yeah,
so the critical,
yeah. You're perfect now.
Great, thanks. Just let me know if I don't see it, because I have some notes here that I'm trying to read as well. So the critical components are that we've split it up into three categories. There's now, which is 0 to 4 years, soon 4 to 8 years, and later are 8+ years, so approximately 8 to 10 years. Part of this, so that's what we've split it up into, but what we need to secure is government funding for this programme from now for the next 10 years. The cycling infrastructure will be the best within the guidelines and all of the standards that are available. We want to have the best cycling infrastructure that we can provide. We need to engage with people and to build the political and community support for these cycle projects so that they're achievable and successful from the outset. We want to develop a robust maintenance programme, which has already begun, and we want to monitor the delivery and amend the programme to respond to any issues that may occur. So why do we need to do this? The reasons is that 20% of carbon released in Ireland is from transport, of which 52% is from private cars. South Dublin ourselves, we do road surveys every year, and from these we have discovered that there's an 11% increase in traffic congestion on our roads since 2016, and it's increasing ever more, except during the pandemic, of course, that seemed to change things. By 2030, we estimate that we will have 50,000 more people living within South Dublin County Council. The National Cycle Policy Framework has a cycle mode share target of 10% of people to cycle frequently each week, and that is a lot. That's nowhere near what we are. You can see from the next point, I've shown that in South Dublin, 3.8% of adults cycle frequently each week. In the city centre, that's a little bit higher at 11%. In South Dublin, 21% of people that currently don't cycle would like to cycle, and this is our target group. If we could get that 21% out, we'd be doing very well. There's currently 207 kilometres of cycle lanes across the county, and it's very much that 207 kilometres is some of it is great and some of it is extremely poor and some of it is middling. So we need to assess that. So what do we aim to deliver? So we have existing projects at the moment that we will keep going. To add to those existing projects, then we have the maintenance program, we have upgrades and a light segregation, which I will speak about later. The now projects, then we have 19 projects in total, which is circa 95 kilometers, and it's going to cost within the region of 130 million. The soon projects totals 12. This will be around 40 kilometers of cycle track, and the cost of that will be around 60 million. The later projects, which are 8 to 10 years, there are 10 of those projects totaling 65 kilometers of cycle track, and that will cost approximately 50 million. Then in total, just to add that all up, we have 41 projects over the next 10 years. That will see an increase of 170 kilometers of cycle track within the county at a cost of 240 million. The NTA then, on top of this proposal, the NTA Bus Connect project, which I know you'll be talking about later, but that will also...
Gone ahead of yourself, yeah.
Yeah, there's 6 projects there, and that will total 40 kilometers, and that will be delivered by 2027. On the side there, I just have used temporary trials to test projects. So as well as that, we'll be using the light segregation project, similar to what we're doing in Wellington Lane, to do some trials and to test different solutions that we feel may work within our county, and that will help us to find other solutions within these projects that we have here. So this is the map from the strategy of the existing cycle network that I'm sure you all know a lot of this. So this network then is all over the county, but it needs to expand. It seems to be in Clondalkin, there's very little cycle tracks, and a lot of it is old and a lot of it requires upgrading. The next one then is the now schemes. So I have another presentation that I'll show you just about the now schemes, but as you can see, there's 14 now schemes altogether. And some of those projects, I have them listed here that we're working on in 2021. The first one there is the Selbridge Link Street, which is number 1 off the top of the map. 3 kilometers of cycle lanes, and that will be completed next year. The next project is the Canal to Lucan Urban Greenway. That's 4.3 kilometers, and that's number 2 on the map. Number 3 is the Monastery Road in Clondalkin. There's 600 meters there of cycle lanes. Number 4 is along the N81 in Jobstown. 600 meters of cycle lanes will be constructed there. That will start, in fact, this month. That project is starting. Number 5 is the Bellegarde Square North Link Street into Cookstown. 510 meters of cycle track will be completed there, and that should be finished this month. I believe that it'll be open to the public hopefully in January. The next one then is the Tala Town Centre scheme, which is number 6. 600 meters of pedestrian and public space will be completed there. The Wellington Lane then, the permanent scheme, we do have a trial scheme there at the moment and temporary scheme. 3 kilometers of cycle track will be built there, and that's it. That scheme will be done next year. Number 8 then is the Dodder Valley, which is ploughing ahead at the minute. Approximately 8 kilometers of cycle track will be built in 2021, and over 14 kilometers in total from 2020 to 2022. And then finally, the Grange Road. Again, this project is due to start in December. And that's 1.3 kilometers of cycle track will be completed there. So the now and soon schemes are here, as you can see. There's how many more? There's 12 in soon, 12 projects in soon schemes, and that is circa 40 kilometers of cycle track costing 60 million approximately. And the later schemes are now added to this map. There's 10 of those, approximately 35 kilometres of cycle track at a cost of 50 million. Sorry, I'll just go back to that one. Yeah, sorry, this one also has the bus connects added into it, this map here. And together then there are 47 projects with the bus connects, which will deliver over 240 kilometres of cycle track over the next 10 years. We do hope to deliver more than that, more than 240 and more than 47 schemes. It's an ambitious programme, but if we have, it's dependent on staff resources, partake planning and the funding streams. But if we manage to get those in place, we would like to have more projects and to try and achieve more within the 10 years. Next slide. So design, work and funding then. The final agreed programme will guide the cycle work and priorities of the council. So hopefully you guys will make a submission on this. I meant to say actually at the beginning that the public consultation is a non-statutory public consultation, but it's open until the 18th of December, and we'd really love to hear your views if you haven't already made them. And you can find the scheme, or you can find the public consultation on the consultation portal for South Dublin County Council. So individual designs will need to be worked up for each scheme, and this will be informed by the engagement with local communities and councillors. Part 8 planning applications would be progressed for each project. Within the now schemes, 9 of them I believe have, or 8 currently have Part 8 planning and have funding in place. The delivery of the programme will require significant public investment, and discussions are underway with the NTA about funding and the Department of Transport. So our next steps then, on the 9th of November, we made a presentation to the council about our proposal for this strategy. The 17th of November commenced our non-statutory public consultation. On the 25th of November, we had a planned webinar which went a bit disastrous, as no one, we had IT issues, so my humblest apologies for that you guys couldn't get in. On the 8th of December, we are hosting a online Q&A webinar, and we'll be posting up the videos of our webinar of the 25th. So if you could have a look at those when they go up online, they should be going up tomorrow. The 18th of December is the closing day of our public consultation, so please do get your views in. In Q1 of 2020, we will go to the council on bring our decisions of the proposed programme to the council for agreement. And in Q1 of 2022 and every year thereafter, we will provide a progress report to the council on each of the projects that we have. And that's my presentation. Thank you very much. I've just put up there that we have an email address for any cycling queries or pedestrian queries as well, but it's cycle@sdublincoco.ie is the new email address, and we welcome your emails and your queries. But if you would please go to the consultation portal, it's consult.sdublincoco.ie will bring you there for your it'd be great to get your comments, please. So I have one more presentation that I just did very quickly today, and I'm just going to try and stop. I'm going to hold on one moment, please. This ran very smoothly in practice, so I'm hoping it will run smoothly again. So what I've done is, now can you see that?
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, thanks, Jen.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank goodness for that. So I just thought that I would give you a quick presentation on some of the schemes. So I've just done the now schemes because there's quite a lot of them. There are 14 in the now schemes, and I didn't really think I could keep you all night running through the 41 schemes. So I thought that this would be handy. Now, so that's scheme number 1. So they're in no particular order, by the way. Just because it's number 1 doesn't mean it's going to be done first. So this scheme is the Lucan Canal Loop. So the cycle lane, well, and I'm just going to read from the document exactly what it is because I don't want to get them mixed up. So it's a cycle lane which will connect the Grand Canal and the Royal Canal. The design options for SDCC selection is underway, and a non-statutory consultation will take place in late 2020. So that's that one. And if anybody has any questions, I can come back to the maps and we can have a look later on. So scheme number 2 under the now schemes is the Grand Canal extension. So this Part 8 approval is in place. And that's why this one is quite a good scheme, because once the planning is in place, half the battle's over. So that's a good one, and it's a now scheme. The next one is Corca Park to Grand Canal. So this cycle route will be from Corca Park through Clondalkin Village to the Grand Canal. Design work has not yet started. The preferred route has not yet been selected. The design will need to provide a connection across Clondalkin Village. So that one is actually quite an interesting project. Number 4 then is Tala to Clondalkin Village. An enhanced cycle route from Clondalkin to Tala. Design work has not yet started. There are a number of complex issues that need to be resolved here. The main one being the Nace Road, which is right in the middle there. It's going to be a bit of an issue, but we'll get over it, work it out. So scheme number 5 then is the N81. So we have 2 schemes here. We have a scheme, which is the Jobstown Junction to the N82. Part 8 approval is in place. However, the design may need to be revisited to address challenges on the western section of the route close to the N82. Number 5B then is the Jobstown Junction. This scheme is underway at the moment. It is starting in December, which is this month, and many meetings have taken place, so it's going ahead. It just says here, Part 8 approval is in place and works are due to start on site in November 2020, but actually they're going to start in December, and it should be complete by the summer of 2021. Number 6. Number 6 then is Tala Village to Dodder Valley. It's a new cycle route from Tala Village to the Dodder along Old Bawn Road. The design work has not yet started. The design will need to address the N81 Old Bawn Junction and the interface with residential along this road. Number 7 then is the Green Hills Road to Dodder Valley. So Green Hills Road to Dodder Valley, it's a new quick way cycle route from Green Hills Road to the Dodder Valley, including quiet way works along Avonbeg Road and a greenway link to the Old Bawn Road. Design work has not yet started, and a significant challenge will be the footbridge across the N81. Scheme number 8A is the Dodder Greenway Bridges. So as you probably know, the Dodder bridges are all installed, and we hope that they will be open to the public by February. Scheme 8B to E is the Dodder Greenway links. There are 5 new links to connect surrounding areas into the Dodder Valley. Design work is underway and Part 8 planning approvals will be needed for some of them, but most of them are complete. Number 9 is the Firhouse to Knocklion scheme. Part 8 approval is in place. However, this may need to be reviewed in sections. And number 10 is the Wellington Lane cycle scheme. Design work is underway and a trial will be implemented in November. It actually started on the 30th of November to put the infrastructure in place, so we just about got in there, and it will be complete in the summer of 2021. And then we will progress with the planning at the Part 8 planning for the permanent scheme. We're hoping to begin that in April of 2021. scheme number 11. I know these are hard to view, but if you do want to come back to them, I can. This is the Grange Road, Nutgrove Avenue to St. Enda's Drive. Works are starting in December 2020 and it should be complete by summer of 2021. The next one then are Tala streets. So there's 3 sections to this. A is the Bellegarde Square North Link Road to Cookstown. Part 8 is approval. Works are underway and it's due for completion early 2021. B is the Ayrton Road extension. Detailed design work is currently underway and Part 8 approval is required. C is the Public Realm and Plaza. Part 8 approval is in place and the council will be moving forward to procure a contractor and commence works on site in 2021. So that's quite an interesting little project there. There's quite a few going on in a very small area. Scheme number 13 is Selbridge Link Road. Part 8 approval is in place and works are currently underway and the completion date is late 2021. And the final project within the now schemes is the Liffey Valley to Lucan. So the first one, A, is the Arc Roundabout to Liffey Valley Centre. An improved cycle lane from Liffey Valley to Lucan. Design work has not yet started. There's a significant design challenge at the Arc Roundabout. And B then is Arc Roundabout to Lucan. An improved cycle lane. There are a number of improvements already in place, but further work is required and design work has not yet started on this one either. And that's me then. That's me done.
Thanks very much,
Thank
Jennifer.
you.
That's very interesting. And I think we're all agreed that, you know, there's very exciting stuff coming down the tracks within the county and we look forward to it. Can you take 1 or 2 questions at this stage?
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Yeah. Simon wants to know what's the difference between this and Bus Connects and were they designed in concert?
So Bus Connects was ahead of us and we decided to allow Bus Connects to do whatever they wanted to do. And then we'll row in behind to do what we wanted to do without interfering with Bus Connects. So for example, Green Hills Road, which isn't on any of our schemes, that was a scheme that we had in place prior to the Bus Connects deciding that they were going to upgrade the Green Hills Road. So we decided we'd park that and we'll allow them to upgrade it. So that's how we're interfacing, is that we're not going to do works on roads that we know that they're going to be upgrading. And we're going to let them do the public consultation around the cycle track and the bus route.
Okay, that's great. Thanks. Another question, I think, from Ali, wondering, will the public consultation process change the priority? Might a lot of positive comment bump a proposal up the waiting list?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there may be schemes that will be bumped up and some schemes might be bumped down, depending, of course, on you know, if we have planning in place, we might move forward with the scheme that's already got planning and funding in place. But absolutely, we will move things around, and I would envisage that there's going to be new schemes proposed that we put into the program as well that we don't know about. You know, I mean, I have to say that a lot of the people within the team that I work with, that we're all cyclists, so we do cycle the streets a lot, but you know yourself, you do a lot of cycling within your own, you know, few kilometers. So we're not cycling all around the whole county all the time. So but we do know, we are quite dispersed actually within the county. So, but we know the ones that are important, and we decided at the beginning how we would look at choose the cycle tracks would be that we wanted to connect all of our villages and all of our schools, if possible. And that was the main driver behind that, and connections to other local authorities as well.
Okay, thanks, Jennifer. One more question.
Okay.
Clara Byrne wants to know why does the part 8 for scheme 9 need review, and will this result in significant delays? I'm not sure what scheme 9 is. Does Claire want to come in and mention? Oh, great, thanks.
There. So that's scheme 9, and this is the M50 in the center. I'm sure. Can you see my cursor?
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
So that's the M50 there, and that is, what's that pub called? I can't remember now. That's
Scholars.
the Fir House. Scholars, yeah. That's the Fir House Road, and I can't remember that road, but I'm just going to read out.
Killininy, I think, is it?
No, it's not actually. That's the Killininy is parallel to Fir House, which is down here. So it's the connecting road. It's Ballycullen Road or something. Yeah.
Ballycullen. The pub is Morton's.
Morton's, yeah. So this, I'll just read out what we have put in. So part 8 approval is in place. However, this may need to be reviewed. So I suppose there are some cycle tracks in place at the minute along Scholarstown Road, and this is St. Columkill's Way, I believe, is the road from the M50 up to the Orla roundabout. Some cycle tracks are in place in some green areas, and not in, and some of the roads still require the cycle tracks to be built. We're saying that part 8, however, this may need to be reviewed. I think that it's because of the difficulties that we have experienced within that area. It may, to be honest, I'm not sure. I'm trying to scramble for ideas here as to why. I know that we've had difficulties with the Orla roundabout, that it has caused delays for traffic, but we've seen massive increases in cyclists and pedestrians in that area. There's also some massive planning application in for Cosgrove site there as well. So I'm not 100% sure as to why that needs to be revised. I'll have to find out. Sorry, Claire.
You might be able to come back on that. Now, Dermot Fitzgerald is asking a question about Monastery Road, but Monastery Road isn't really part of Cycle South Dublin, so I don't think we really. Do you want to deal with it?
Monastery Road is on our list.
Is it? Oh, yeah.
It's part of the existing. I did call out Monastery Road, didn't I? Monastery Road is there. We have a scheme in Monastery Road at the moment, which is currently being completed. Do you want to ask me the question and I'll see if I know the answer?
Do you want to ask the question, Dermot?
Yeah, I'm aware of that you are completing the roundabout, so the top of Monastery Road is going to be finished. But looking at the scheme, the one that was on the map, it seems to be going further down. My main question is, will the entire Monastery Road be linked with a cycle lane, or is it just part of it? Just part of it.
Right. So what we've done is on Monastery Road, we've provided a staircase down to the Lewis station.
Yeah.
And cycle tracks from the Lewis station to the crossing point. There's a crossing point just on Monastery Road, sort of halfway up the road from the SIAC roundabout to the village.
Yes.
The idea is that the carriageways are quite narrow there along the Monastery Road, and that was done on purpose to slow down the traffic and to have a shared street at that point, because the total width of the carriageway is quite narrow. So we wouldn't be able to provide a cycle track, definitely not. We wouldn't have had space for a segregated cycle track and pathways and carriageways. So that was the thinking behind that. I know that a lot of that, that was done earlier in the scheme, which was a couple of years ago. What we're doing at the moment is finalizing the scheme, and maybe in hindsight, if we were to do the scheme today, we may not do it that way. We may prefer to give cyclists a segregated pathway, but that was how it was done a couple of years ago. So at the minute, we're on the final phase of the Monastery Road. So
okay.
it's a shared street, and it's, you know, the idea is that the cyclists and traffic will share the carriageway, and that the traffic, the vehicles, will give way to cyclists, and yeah, and we'll take it slow. I know it's not ideal, and it's definitely not what we would like to be bringing to our new schemes. At all times, we want to segregate cycle tracks from traffic if possible, but it isn't always possible, especially within the villages, because the roadways are quite narrow. But we are lucky in other senses that we have some of our roadways are quite wide. So in those instances, we will be providing as much as possible segregated cycle tracks, and that's our plan.
Okay, one last question, Jennifer. I don't know who it's from because they don't have a name. It's an iPhone. Great work. Does it help these cycling plans just to make a public submission of general support, or are you only looking for specific input? I don't know, has Jennifer gone frozen? But certainly I would encourage people to put in submissions of general support. I think we're used to the idea that sometimes a very vocal opposition can defeat a plan. So if you want to see Cycle South Dublin implemented, I think send in a general submission of support. So sorry, Jennifer, you seem to have frozen up. No. But anyway, I think it's time to go on to the next section, which is to talk about bus connects. And the idea here is that, so as Myrna, I think you're going to share a screen. There are seven bus connects routes within South Dublin County. One of them really is Kimmage to the city centre, so it doesn't really go through the county, but many of you may use it. So now the people involved in the campaign who are working on doing submissions on the Bus Connects proposals are going to give you a rundown on what we think of what's been proposed in the latest round of Bus Connects and what will be in our submissions going into the National Transport Authority. And we would urge everybody, when the submissions go up on our website, to look at them and to make your own submissions before the 18th of December. So we'll start, the first person to talk, I think, is Martin Quinn, who's going to talk about routes 6 and 7, Lucan and Liffey Valley to city centre. So are you ready to go, Martin?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
We can.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so I'll just give you a quick overview of the route. It basically goes from Lucan Village along the N4, past Woodies, into Palmerstown Village, and as far as Chapel Lizard. It's going to be a two-way cycle route on the north side of the N4. And could I have the next slide, please? Okay, so I attended the meeting, and overall it was most people were in favour of the cycling lane. From Dublin Cycling Campaign's perspective, we are broadly in favour. We did ask some questions like, will there be a buffer zone from traffic on the N4? And the reply was that due to the trees and space constraints, that probably unlikely. Without a doubt, the biggest contention was the removal of 50 car parking spaces in Palmerstown Village. Some of the resident associations asked, could it be made a quiet way? But the NTA was of the opinion that it was just too busy to be a quiet way. It also ends in Chapel Lizard, where the city takes over, and the NTA were of the opinion that the city has its own plans. And so that's the reason why it ended there. Chapel Hill Chapel Lizard Hill is going to be widened as the share space with pedestrians on Chapel Hill. At the moment, I don't like it at all. Cyclists build up speed on that hill, and it's very dangerous for both pedestrians and cyclists. So it is going to be widened by an extra metre or so. So hopefully that will make things a little bit better. But overall, very good from a cycling perspective. We're getting a two-way cycling path on the north side of the M4 all the way to Chapel Lizard. That really wasn't there before. And we're protected going through Parmastown. So overall, of all the routes on Bus Connects from a cycling perspective, it's probably the easiest one in the whole of Dublin. So I'll just take some questions after I finish the next one, or after we finish the whole the Liffey Valley to city centre. Now this is quite complex. It leaves from Liffey Valley Shopping Centre. It goes over the Coldcourt Road, and there will be a bus, traffic lights for buses only. That will be timed for buses only, but cycling and pedestrians will have right of way. It then goes down through Ballyfermot, where there's a two-way cycling lane, with a cycle lane on each side of the road, about a metre wide. And that goes all the way down to past through the main street of Ballyfermot, past Marchwick Park, and then into Inchicore, and then down along James Street past the hospital, and then into Thomas Street, where it has a 1 metre cycle lane on each side, where previously, at the moment, there's nothing. So it's a huge increase in population, in cycling facilities for the general population. So it's an amazing amount of work being put into it. Could I have the next slide, please? The next slide. Yeah, okay. So the Dublin Cycling Campaign were broadly in favour. So there'll be a new segregated cycle lane on both sides, except for a section on James Street, which will be diverted to James Street Hospital. And that's fine. Some trees will be removed from across the road from Marchwick Park, but that'll be kept to a minimum. Some of the disability groups have asked, will all bus stops locations have clear demarcation from cycle lanes? And that is yes. They will be separate colour, and there will be a height difference for pedestrian and cycling access. And some of the residents' associations have asked for add-ons, one particularly from Emma Road down to Inchicore, and also from Kellensport Road to add on to the cycling plans. But that was, the NTA decided that was mission creep, and decided against it. That actually depends on South Dublin County Council adding those facilities. So that's, I'll now pass you on to Aidan, who will do Clondalkin and Green Hills.
Hi everyone. Thanks very much, Martin. Fair play. Well done. Just a quick run. There one's not so bad a route, the other is a mighty route down from Green Hills. But just to say, I went along to the webinar for routes 8 and 9 as well, which the NTA held, and had a very detailed kind of rundown on the routes, and it's all available on the portal. I think, Marie, just to say, or Muireann as well, wasn't there's one more consultation after this, isn't there? I think before they go to on board Planala then for application. Am I right to say that?
I think not. I think they're going to board Planala after this round.
We might just clarify that, because I thought I heard that there was another one after this, and I think that's important, because actually on the Green Hills route I felt it was still lacking quite a lot, and actually at the meeting there was some fairly contentious parts around the Crumlin Road and other areas and in around the Crumlin area. So like I think I don't know if it's going to come clear out of this design again, you know, whether those needs have been met, but I'll go into that in a bit more detail, because I would have just liked to have been picking up bits, you know, around junctions and things, but it was a bit more deep than that in certain areas. So just for the general note. I just the main points overall, I suppose, just to kind of, I won't go over them again and again, was that we're absolutely fighting for improved junction design. You know, bikes have been let fight for it on the road when we go past secondary roads. So like that needs to be raised with the proper curbing. I'll show some examples of that. There are some basic examples of it, but not really wonderful in terms of safety. I'm looking for fully segregated, or we're looking for fully segregated as we can. There's a lot of mixed traffic modes, definitely not a cycling for all credibility on a lot of the routes, even the quiet routes as well, where they say there'll be a cut down in traffic I know them, it'll be difficult. I can't see cycling for all, cycling for children being actioned on a lot of the routes. So, we'll be making the observation around that. Whether they execute that or not is another matter. Then obviously improving permeability when there's opportunities. Martin had raised at that meeting as well, and just today as well, there's wonderful opportunities to tie the bus connects into the existing greenways along the way. If they get rid of kissing gates and they get rid of all the usual gump along the way, that can accommodate a quieter natural route for people to follow, and still keep the segregated lane along the bus route if it happens to be the quickest way to go. And also then cycle parking. That was something I noticed, it didn't come up at all. I didn't see anything on the main terminal in Green Hills. I didn't see anything along the route, where people would park, but perhaps that comes up in detailed design, which they kind of hinge quite a lot on, to be honest with you, that there'll be detailed design to come, but I would be of the opinion we need to see that, in order to really fully support all the way. But as said, I think the cycling campaign we're broadly supportive because it is providing segregated cycling infrastructure, particularly in these areas like Martin has pointed out, and I've seen in South Dublin where are just completely awful for cyclists. So, okay, so sorry. So 8 is just bringing us in from Clondalkin and right down into Drimna. It takes a bit of a speedy left turn there on the Long Mile, just coming onto the Long Mile Road, and decides to veer off down into town for a while, and then comes back onto the Long Mile second half. So like that's obviously one of the big points for cycling. It's not following the desire line, so we'll follow up on that. So then it meets up with at map 12 there. It meets up with CB9, which is the Green Hills route. So I'll just go on. So next slide there. Sorry, Marin, thank you. So there's an example, Kissing Gates connection to Greenway. So that's at the very start at the Clondalkin end, which connects there. I have some photos of families of literally 6 or 7 people lifting their bike, a family over that Kissing Gate when I went out for a look. And that's a major connection there to the estate and to the south of that. And as you come down, then there's the M50 overpass, which in fairness now they've provided an access to that, just probably about 50 meters down the road, and that's to be open. But obviously that needs to be cheered up a little bit, and under there, I think that's important. Security is looked at, like how people feel. They need to feel safe traveling these routes, and that's actually a big issue with that Greenway as well, is how safe is that and how permeable is that. And if it's going to be looked at as an option for people on the Bus Connects routes, then I think that needs to be improved and allowed for as well. So just next slide, Maureen, thanks. Okay, so just on junctions, that's just a typical one coming down the Naas Road into, I forgot one of the units there, and this is, you're left to come off a footpath as it is, but the new junctions, as you can see, they've put a raised table, it's called, and for pedestrian access, but haven't included the bike lane on that. So that's a big piece that I'd be very keen to push. I'm sure we all would. So like, and separate the bike from standard traffic. Now it looks dotted, it's obviously to be finished in design, but it hasn't been. So like NTA had said at the meeting that they had done a lot even since this had been issued, and that's why I do think there's another round, Ray, because I do think they said themselves they hadn't got the drawings up to a point yet where they were ready really fully even. So anyway, from that next slide, so there's just an example, so we'll put in this, I think, what I mean, we'll just are similar. I think we probably will get some stock images, Mairead. I think it's good to show, on all of us that this is what we're looking for, a clear separation from the road, so cars have to stop and think before they turn left into oncoming cycling traffic, and that cyclists have as much right of way, to keep their momentum as they move into town. Okay, so the next slide. And there again, I'm probably really over angsting the point here, but that's what that is. It's just that figure again, the Nanga Road. I'm just saying, as you come into town, it's just the same, right? The whole way coming into town is to secondary road, takes priority each time over primary right of way traffic. So that needs to be done away with, I feel, to make us safe. Okay, the next slide. Okay, so one of the jewels in the crown of South County Dublin, now known as the Hamburger Junction, which is up to date. Before this, I only knew it as the Nanga Road roundabout or whatever it was. So it's They couldn't come up. There's no clear safe route around it for cyclists. So they came up with an overpass. Well, they discussed an underpass, but that was dismissed because of costs. That was put forward by Owen O'Brien, a couple other people as well at the time, and that the costs had been saying too expensive. So they've put an overpass, but unfortunately, this still to be determined design is one of these big double ramp affairs, getting up to a height. You know, you have to come around on yourself 3 or 4 times before you get over onto the roundabout. So, you know, I've been honest, as a cyclist, you know, not particularly competent myself, but like, I would probably take my chances with traffic as opposed to have to spend 40 minutes trying to get over the bridge. So we think there are options, and we think NTA need to look at new options. This is a major gateway to the city, and it's a real opportunity to show how, you know, 350 million euro a year in cycling can be spent, and I think we need to go there. Now, it doesn't look bad from here, but it's this typical design of cage steelwork over a road. And the next slide, we probably show what good looks like. So there is the nice road as it looks, and here's the Hoven Ring in Holland, which is, in fairness, like a ramped up access. There's a lot of space needed to get to it, but it's there, and it's just to give an idea. Look, you know, a bit of engineering, guys, a bit of thought into what might work here. You know, like in the existing, you can actually see the road lines there. There's loads of spare space to build things up and to suspend things off. So, you know, surely with a bit of creative creative mind and engineering foresight, like these guys could actually put something in place there that could really be a totem to the rest of the world for Dublin, you know, and South County Dublin at that. So the next slide there. And then I spoke about the Desire line, that the bus connects brings us down the Naas Road as far as the FBD there and the old Naas Road, and then takes a right down Kylemore back to hit the Longwell. So that obviously is going to dissuade cyclists from cycling into town. I know it's about buses, but like part of it is trying to get the infrastructure in there. But so like that is just an example of how a Desire line works in reality. You know, people will follow the shortest path. So like, I do think it would be worth them looking at that connection just to see if they could improve it even from a cycling infrastructural point of view to aid their Bus Connects project, you know, or even South County Dublin, if Jen's still there, we could look at that, you know. But okay, the next slide. Okay, and then again, Desire lines. This is something they've kind of stuck to the, you know, how things kind of seem to work on the Naas Road. And there's a lot of schools. There's we have Aldi now. We have a lot of big shops, the Farmers Cafe. There's a lot of people coming up from Walkinstown Court there, I think it is. It's a huge estate out the back, and they follow that road, and none of them use the pedestrian crossing as it stands. I'll be honest with you, I took photos there, people just coming across from the road. So like, that should all be a raised platform, you know, access for pedestrians coming across the way, you know, like that. It's all slow down traffic, you know, get this traffic slow down along that road. That's an awful place to be. Actually, I noticed in their new greening brochure, they had removed the green line of tree buffers in favor of just keeping the footpath and not actually improving the urban realm element of it. So, you know, those things need to be brought back in, definitely, because it's just a speed tunnel as it stands. And then, sorry, next slide. I got a bit, okay, Grant, thanks. I got a bit snap happy on that one. So, okay, so back to Green Hills, which is the main one. I have a minute. I'd say I won't want to labor too long.
About a minute, yeah.
I have a Mairead, but this is like 44 maps, right? So I didn't know what he was getting into when he took this on anyway. But like, so we have, so really Green Hills, look, what can I say? You know, like it's serviced by a really quite a great connection from the Poddle, or from Green Hills down through Poddle Park, the back of the basketball arena, and into Timon. So actually there's loads of potential soft routes for cyclists and other people coming down the way, which I think need to be looked at in general around this route. But there's obviously the main Green Hills route. So I'll just talk about that as we come down. So just the next slide, from Tala. And so there's a whole new bus interchange at the start. So this is one of the thoughts. It's mad. There's no cycling allowed for, no segregated lanes up there. So it's just literally about getting people on buses, but there's nothing about the community being drawn into Tala to bring their bikes in, cycle to the bus, and then take their route onwards to Dublin City. So I think we really need to raise that as an important one as part of the Green Hills route. That's a Dutch example, or somewhere an example of what might happen. I think that example there is more on every stop. There should be something like that, you know, where people can park park their bikes and feel safe to leave them. You know, that's up for debate as well. But okay, so the next slide. Okay, here we have, just very quickly, there's a junction proposed for the Tala Hospital. I actually believe that the junction causes problems there. I timed it myself as if I was going around the junction, and it took me a minute to get around that, even without lights, and from just south. And when I went around the roundabout, it took me 30 seconds. So that's always going to happen. These junctions are going to throw cyclists out onto the road, you know, and I feel we really need to push Dutch style roundabouts, you know, priority cycling, priority pedestrian style roundabouts to get people through and in, and to promote the use of that. So the next slide, I think, just shows an example of how that might look. You know, it's quite straightforward. The roundabout's already there. You know, to be honest, it looks kind of like the job to me. So I would be putting that forward for this particular route, unless someone overrules me. And I think, look, that's the safest way. It gives drivers appropriate time to see cyclists coming, puts them in their eye line before the left turn. It just meets everything. So, you know, look, we'll have to debate that. And okay, on to the next slide. Here actually was a bit of input from Kevin Cannon, which is the Green Hills Road. As Jenny alluded to earlier, there's a whole new road going in along that red line, which is actually cutting off that Parkview estate, and means that everyone that lives over in Elm or beyond Tree Park Road has 3 roads to cross now before they get to Timon Park, which, to be honest, is a no-go for me. I think this is why we get this community and corridors issue. You know what I mean? Is we're just cutting off communities from green spaces and from communities. And like, I think we need to make this a bit more open. So Kevin, come up with the next slide there, where he said that if we made the North Road more of a bike lane, and then looked at improving the width of the road on the Green Hills Road, and then move on to the next slide, that we could potentially have an eastbound lane further down. So really, when looking at it and from cycling it myself, it seems like I know it's just a few lines on a picture now, but it actually seems very reasonable to me what he's put across there. So I think we should probably put that in as a suggestion and urge them along. You know, we'll dress it up a bit and just show them how that cycle lane, you know, they're kind of using the cycle lanes as a reason not to have the Green Hills alone as the road, and they're saying we need to build this whole new road because of the width that's needed for everything. I could be wrong now on that, but that seems to be my impression of it. So I think we just need to spell out, well, you know, here's maybe a nicer option for how a cycle lane works and doesn't cut off the community, you know. So like, that would be a good thing to show. Okay, so the next slide.
Okay, get to the
point.
We'll walk and turn around about Aon, I think.
Yeah, no, we have to get to Crumlin as well. Two very important points. Yeah, there's Walkstown roundabout. As we know, they've tried. I thought at first they'd succeeded, but because the bike bus used to come around by the corner there, but unfortunately it's just too complicated. So I didn't like the Walkstown roundabout anymore. So next slide. So this is Walkstown roundabout as it was back in the day. Let's go back to first principles. How did it used to work like that? Why do roundabouts come in? They need to design something new. So let's see where we go. This might be awful. This one is an idea that came, but we have to think. The next slide is an overpass with an underpass cycle lane. Got to think big. I think something is really necessary at the Walkerstown roundabout, and just putting patch repairs for a roundabout and mixed transport that's going to take you half an hour to get around that roundabout isn't going to be good enough. You know, it's not going to improve cycling in the area. Okay, and then very quickly, could I just say, if we go on, there's a lot of traffic calming measures and quiet roads being put in the area. This one isn't too bad. It's down Bunting Road. If we move on, we have other examples further down that bring us down Kildare Road, which is mixing cycling with buses and cars. And then what it's doing, it's creating a 4-lane highway on Crumlin Road in spots. And it is buses, it's great, but it's just too much traffic. And the quiet road is where all the traffic is going to go and cause problems with cyclists and the people of the area. And then the very next slide, I think I just say, I just went into town. Look, junctions, there's the same issue. Cork Street, no big pickup. The next slide again, we're in, and the next, that's Patrick Street, and that is the same crack. Junctions, I'm just worried about junctions. And then the very last slide is in around Kildare Road. This is the new traffic plan for Crumlin. I don't think it's going to get very successful. I think they're going to, if they put that into on board Planala, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of people who are going to have something to say about it. So I think first principles back in this area, but that's in Crumlin area. But That's a whistle stop tour. I'll leave it at that. Sorry, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Aaron. And now Liz Hickey is going to talk to us about CBC 10 Tallaght to Templeogue.
Yeah, hi everyone. So myself and Mairead have been working on Tallaght to Terenure. So just to highlight that it starts off at the M50 junction on the N81 and it goes right down through to Terenure Place. I suppose there's nothing dramatically radical, I suppose, or contentious, overly contentious on the route, but we'll just give you some of our opinions, I suppose, on what we feel. So if you go to the next slide, Maureen. So again, two of the things that we're kind of in favour of is, one is the Spawell roundabout will actually be converted to a junction. And the Spawell roundabout, as you know, is a very large, busy roundabout with traffic coming at high speed off the M50. So we feel a junction would be safer for pedestrians and cyclists, and it would be easier probably to control from a signal perspective. Throughout, yeah, and then the next kind of big piece of infrastructure that we're happy about is the new cycle tracks that are going to be on Templeogue Road that join the Fortfield junction. And as you can see, then there's a diagonal as well that connects to Bushy Park. So this will be great for those who want to get to Bushy Park, but also those who may prefer to take the proposed quieter route that's been proposed by the NTA. So if you go to the next slide. So we do have still some concerns about the route, and in our submission we have listed a few more, but I'm just going to highlight 3 of them today. So the first one is in fundamentally to Aidan's point as well, we are really concerned about the junction design. We don't believe they're up to best international practice because they kind of, we are concerned about cyclist and car conflict with them. But I think as well, what we're also concerned about on this route is the connectivity to suburbs or to areas like Knocklion, Fairhouse, Ballyroan, where the connecting infrastructure has not been upgraded. So you can see that on the Spawell Bridge and even the Templeogue Bridge, which will still be a very kind of dangerous environment for the cyclist. So we'd like to see them, I suppose, upgraded as well, either as part of Bus Connects or by South Dublin County Council. And the next thing, which we're obviously very disappointed about, is Templeogue Village. So we recognise that the Templeogue Village initiative by SD's South Dublin County Council is going ahead, but we're disappointed that the option 2 that was proposed by the NTA isn't being progressed. We felt it offered better cycling and pedestrian facilities in general, and we felt it offered a better public realm. So we'll be voicing, I suppose, our just continued disappointment, and we think the conflict fundamentally still remains. And then finally, I suppose, once you kind of get past Bushy Park, the NTA are recommending that you use linkage through what they call quiet roads. This is through Rathdown Crescent and Drive and Park. And for anybody who's been down there recently, like they're fairly busy because they're servicing Bushy Park. So again, we really want to understand what's meant by a quiet road. The Dutch and the Belgians have outlined this very clearly. The bicycle has priority, there's no parking, there's special treatment on the streets. So I think it needs to be like a legislative change to make sure that they are safe roads for all, cycling for all, which is what we're, I suppose, really advocating and hoping that Bus Connects delivers upon. So that's me.
Okay, thanks very much, Liz. And now we move on to our last corridor, which is CBC 12 Rathfarnham to City Centre, and Owen Ahern is going to talk to us about that. I mean, a lot of comments about this particular route in the chat, and I think Owen might answer some of the points that have been raised. If not, we'll come to the Q&A.
Thanks, Mairead. So yeah, as you can see on the map, this is so there's a fairly direct line from Rathfarnham, from the Yellow House to into Terenure, which alternative routes there in the dotted blue have been suggested, and there's been a lot of pushback on those. So maybe we just go to the next slide. We'll get started into it anyway. So yeah, actually, I'm just only going to really look at the, yeah, just to say, just I'm only going to look sort of as far as the daughter kind of Terenure, just this evening anyway, from the South Dublin side of it. So I suppose it's not all bad news on that one. There's some improved junction design, particularly at the very start of the route there at the Grange Road, where it joins up Rathfarnham Wood. So there's been a much better protected junction design there, linking into the proposed Grange Road cycle scheme, and including a new islanded bus stop there just at the corner of Grange Road. Still nothing linking it into the existing cycle lanes on Nuckrove Avenue there at the left of that image on the left. So that's something which definitely needs to be improved on. And I think that's just where the boundary with Dunleer Rat Down is, at that junction. So they need to interact with whoever's involved there. Moving further down the route, you can see a couple more junctions that have been slightly improved at the Yellow House and at that's Butterfield Avenue there, I think, isn't it? And there has been the cycle lane has been moved in behind car parking there for protection, which is good to see as well. Next slide, please. So then the major concerns, Rathfarnham Road, you can see on the left there, still no cycle facilities on the most direct route that the vast majority of cyclists are going to want to take into town. Again, if you look on the right hand side, same thing is kind of going on in Terranure Road East, where there's absolutely no cycling infrastructure there at all. So if we go to the next slide, please. So this is the alternative that has been proposed for the Rathfarnham Road stretch. So basically, if you can kind of, I think I've thrown 4 different maps on top of each other to pick out the route, but it goes along behind the Yellow House there at St. Mary's Avenue, crosses the Owen Door, goes along on what's probably going to be a boardwalk now, along the Owen Door, crosses the road at the Garda station, comes across on sorry, that the first section would have been across a field actually in the housing estate, then a boardwalk kind of section across the Owen Door, then coming onto the cottages, then down towards the Dodder. Some new kind of concrete across the field basically there for access onto the Dodder Greenway, and then another big bridge across the Dodder down below towards our Farnham Bridge. So there's a huge amount of work going into that. 3 river crossings on sort of environmentally sensitive areas. So there's going to be huge. I just think there's going to be a very difficult job to get approval for something like that anyway. Just, you know, that's also when you kind of think that it's really not going to be used. It's a lot of work for something that is basically nice for bringing the kids out on the weekend, but it's not going to be used by the majority of people. There's issues with kind of security then as well. If you're in a kind of secluded dark laneway in the evenings, or kids going to want to cycle along after school, that kind of thing. So really there's a lot of issues with that alternative route. We just go on to the next slide, please. Okay, so I think there might be an image missing there, but anyway, this is where it links up. Oh, sorry. So this is where it links up then with when it comes across the Dodder and links up to Rathdown Park there, I think is the name of the road, or Rathdown Road rather. And again, as we were talking about, or Liz was talking about earlier, the quiet street treatment there, that's a really busy stretch of road at the Dodder, or just at Bushy Park rather. So yeah, we really would need to see what's planned there, because it doesn't seem safe to us. So yeah, those are the main concerns with that section. I know there are a lot of questions there in the chat earlier. I don't know if I hit on them all. I know kind of there were residents around Woodview cottages there who were concerned, and I don't know if that's about it. Were there any other queries from people there? Right, and you recall?
I think, yeah, thanks very much, Owen. I think there's quite a few queries in there that we might just deal with as one, and I promised Yvonne Collins, the councillor, that I'll let her in a minute. But
Yeah.
obviously there's a lot of people,
Just to go,
residents from the area here this evening that are not happy about a cycle route through their area, but as they can hear from us, we're not very happy about it either. So
yeah, and just to kind of run through the couple of options that we were suggesting then for the Rathfarnham Road. So there were kind of three options that have kind of sort of come up now that we've been discussing it recently. The first would be not requiring any land take from gardens, and that would basically be 2 lanes for motor traffic, 2 lanes for bike lanes and bicycle tracks, and 2 footpaths. And essentially what you would have then is a bus gate, bi-directional bus gate. So locals can access the road, but they can't go right the way through from Terranure to Rathfarnham. There'd be a bus gate in the middle. Buses can go straight through in either direction. Second option would require a small bit of land take, as is proposed at the moment. And that would reduce the number of lanes for traffic from 4 to 3. In this case, you'd have a one-way system for motor traffic and 2 bus lanes, one in each direction, with segregated cycle tracks as well. And then the third option, which we're also kind of talking around, is where you continue to have cars being able to travel both directions, and then you'd have an alternating bus lane. So you'd have half of the road with bus lane on approach to the junction at each end. So those are the kind of 3 options. I suppose if there's any residents or locals who are on the call tonight, we'd love to hear your opinions on those. What would be the most workable from your perspective? It'd be great if we kind of have some sort of agreement, I suppose, between everyone before we all put in our submissions to the NTA. But that's it really for me on that.
Okay, thanks very much for that, Owen. Now, I hope you all found that interesting. And I say there are a lot of people coming in with a lot of questions, but I promised Yvonne Collins I'd let her in. So do you want to come in with the question now, Yvonne?
Yes, I would love to. And thank you very much for inviting me, first of all, and to DCC for hosting the webinar and for all the presentations. It's been really good. Thank you very much. Very, very interested to hear what you have to say, Owen. It's great to hear other suggestions coming along. Very concerned about the plans to route the cycle path along St Mary's Avenue. Firstly, it's very, very narrow. I just would worry about the safety of cyclists. Now, I used to cycle and I'm hoping to get back to it, and Jennifer's going to take me out on a cycle if she's still on. I'm holding her to it. But I just can't see how the cyclists are going to fit along St Mary's Avenue. I rang the NTA and I said, what's a quiet street treatment? Because Elizabeth, I was kind of wondering the same thing. And they said, oh, we do a bit of public realm. And I said, well, how are you going to fit your bit of public realm and the people who live there and the cyclists? And why on earth would the cyclists go there anyway when they could just keep going straight up the road? So we had a bit of an agreement to differ there. And then you have your bridge across into Owendore Crescent, which is a nice cul-de-sac at the moment, and it's going to be a loss of green space there. And then crucially, Woodview Cottages. I don't think they notified Woodview Cottages at all, because I leafleted Woodview Cottages and there was huge kind of, what on earth is happening here? The NTA actually contacted me then because they'd heard I'd leafleted and wanted to know what I'd said in the leaflet. And I said, I just told them what the plans are. So I'm hoping to get the residents in touch with the design team in the NTA just to see what we can do to make sure that this doesn't impact adversely on people's lives. Because I think you put your finger on it, Owen, when you said, I mean, you'd spend an awful lot of money on these paths, cause an awful lot of misery, and then they'd never be used. So it just seems like there's an awful lot more work to be done on a couple of levels with this, and I'd love to see some more alternatives being proposed. And I know all the residents are there as well, and I just think it's really time to the most important thing I can say is that if everybody puts in a submission, put in your submission, say, even if it's 2 lines, to say just to make sure that your voice is heard. This is a public submission. It's online. It's a bit more difficult than the usual public consultations where we could all have our public meetings and everybody knows what we think. It's much more difficult now. So the 16th of December, I think somebody said the 18th earlier, the deadline is the 16th. And I love to get the input of everybody. And I think as well as the residents saying why they feel it's a bad idea, it's great if the cyclists for whom it's intended give their perspective as well. It's hugely valuable. So thank you very much. I know there's a lot of other people who want to come in, so I'll just finish with that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, Yvonne. I wonder if there's any, maybe somebody, Bridget O'Donoghue from Woodview Cottage. Do you want to, or does somebody else from one of the local residents want to make a comment? As they were, you've heard our views that we really don't think cyclists are going to will use the route very much. Not the experienced cyclists, maybe people going out, to bring their children to Bushy.
Can I talk? Niall Cox here. I'm an Owen Door Crescent resident.
Okay.
I'm a cyclist, a commuter cyclist, and I'm very encouraged by the discussion here tonight. It highlights all our concerns, my concern as a cyclist, and our concerns as Owen Door residents that route, which is the PC8 route, will not be used. So I'd like to thank everybody for their opinions and the presentation. So appreciate it.
Oh, thanks very much. Now I know it's good to hear that point of view, and I think we've a few cyclists saying that they don't think they'd use they don't know that they'd use the route. Just trying to see now.
Great.
Yeah.
Simon Harrison here. I'm also a resident of Woodview Cottages and an avid cyclist, both as a commuter and recreationally. And I don't know if you guys saw, but parent of 2 young girls living on Woodview Cottages. I've got an interest in environmental aspects of this, cycling, commuting, but most importantly, safety and security. The route through Woodview Cottages, Owen Door, I can't really speak to as much, but through Woodview Cottages, it's so unsafe. It's already very small. There's 2 blind corners. I would just really hope that the people behind the design would come and have a look at it and really, sorry, it's my daughter here, Amy, really consider other options. And I'm saying that as a cyclist as well as a resident. So I'm hugely supportive of all of these initiatives. But in this case, all the reasons that Yvonne said, but it's just the safety I just can't get over. And that's safety to both the cyclists, but then also as residents and then for children. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, Simon. A lot of the comments, a lot of the other questions we have are in relation to things like Grange Road, and I'm not too sure if Jennifer is still around. I think it's a detailed question there about Grange Road. Jennifer, I've lost it again. Sorry, I've lost it. Grange Road, I had it a few minutes ago. Sorry about that.
Mairead, I can read it out if you want. There was 2 questions on Grange Road.
Yeah.
So one was, there's an existing, sorry, beg your pardon, there's 2 of them, and I'll just read both of them out. One is from Lorna, and how will cycle lane fit in Grange Road? What will it look like? And then the second question on Grange Road from Steve was, there's an existing off-road cycle lane on the Grange Road, scheme 11. Will that be reconstructed? Were they the questions you meant, Mairead?
They were the questions, yeah. I don't know if Jennifer is still here.
Jennifer is here, yeah, she's just unmuted now. Hi, thanks, Jennifer.
Would you be able to answer those?
Yeah, I can. So the project that we have at the moment that's starting in December, the question was, what will that look like? So there are places where the carriageway isn't wide enough to accommodate a footpath on both sides, a vehicle lane and a cycle track, a segregated cycle track. And it's also a bus route, that road, and I believe it's the bus is a bus that goes to Dublin Airport, so therefore it's a bus that starts quite early in the morning, and it operates until, I think the last bus arrives at Grange Road around midnight or something. So it's quite a long time during the day where that bus operates, even though it's probably not operating quite as busy these days. But in the case of Grange Road, where the carriageway is extremely narrow, it's a shared surface. So it's a shared vehicle and cycling path rather than shared for pedestrians and cyclists. So it's vehicle and cyclist shared. And then the next question was off-road, that there's a section of that that's already completed, that's off-road. And sorry, Conor, was it the question, will that be upgraded? Is that the question?
Just give me a second again, sorry, I'll just search it.
Sorry.
So one was, sorry, Lorna's question was, how will cycle lane fit in Grange Road? What will it look like? And then the next question was, there is an existing off-road cycle lane on the Grange Road, scheme 11. Will that be reconstructed? Is that your question? Does that help?
Yeah, so that's yeah. So if that that cycle track will be assessed, and if it requires any upgrading or maintenance, it will be part of our maintenance program. But just to finish off on the Grange Road and the new cycle track that's going to be under construction, it will be segregated in parts. It will be on road with and shared with vehicles. So it's a mix of different types, where it's just extremely narrow road in places. It's also got a few schools there. So it's a really busy road.
Okay, thanks very much for that, Jennifer. Now I think it's probably time to call us a night. We've been here for a while. First of all, thanks very much to everybody for coming. Thanks very much for everybody who put comments in the chat. Thanks very much to the council, all the councillors who came along. I know several of you have put comments into chat. Thanks very much for coming along. I hope you all got food for thought in the presentations you heard. And I really hope that everybody will make submissions on the 2 consultations. And just to clear up confusion, the deadline for Bus Connects is the 16th of December. And somebody has just put up there where the Bus Connects consultations are to go, and we would encourage everybody to make a submission on the issues that concern you to the Bus Connects consultation. And the deadline for Cycle South Dublin is the 18th December, and that's on the SDCC consultations website. Somebody did say they had trouble registering, and I think the best thing to do is probably to contact the council about that yourself. I think you can email info@sdcc.ie. I think that's the best thing to do if you can't register on the consultation portal. I don't think there's anybody here that can solve that problem. So unless there are any more questions or comments, I think we'll say Ihoa agus Colasov as Gormina Mahagurv Galer. See you all cycling South Dublin.
Fair play. Thank you.
Gormina Mahagurv Mairead, Sloan.
Thanks, Mairead.
Good night, everyone. Thank you very much.
Gormina Mahagurv, Sloan.
Hi, Bridget. I couldn't get on. I did put in a comment, but I couldn't get on to the screen.
We can hear you now, Patricia, if you want. And Mairead, I'll finish this up now, so I'll stop recording. Okay, thanks everyone.
Thanks, Conor.